In case we
All
say
right.
anything really good.
But we will. It will just
Of
happen.
course we will. Yes.
Yes, welcome everyone, and thank you, Amanda. We were just wishing everyone a happy solstice.
Mhm.
Any thoughts or symbolism behind that, Amanda?
Oh, just the turning of the wheel, we've been moving towards the longest day, which means the most light, which is always my most happy day. And then I have to contain myself from starting to think about the days getting longer starting tomorrow. So, but yes, just, it's just a time of recognition of the turning of the wheel, and that we're always changing, and nature is always giving us guidance about how to be present with what actually is, instead of worrying about the days getting shorter or longer from a winter solstice perspective. So way too much information.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, appreciate you guys being with us and connecting today. To start off with and if anyone has any announcements or any questions or anything, please feel free to speak up as well, or put in the chat. We have, and send it out in the email as well, 2 upcoming in-person training events. One is the brand new Seen Through Dogs training retreat. So been working on that agenda, and it's our pilot training, and I'm really, really excited about it. I can't wait to try some of the ideas that we're having. And it's a different, from what else is out there involving trainings incorporating canines, our focus is really on that facilitation side of how to apply the story mindset in that context, and what uniquenesses do dogs bring to that context. So we'll be practicing the scene keystones, we'll be applying it in that environment and the story mindset, and then talking about those uniquenesses and experiencing that as well. So really excited. This will be our pilot experience. It's in July in Massachusetts, thanks to Andrew Lapin and Eva Smith and the Aviv program out there in Massachusetts for hosting this. And we're excited to expand our horizons. So the other one coming up is our Seen Through Story online workshop. So that's live, it's interactive, August 25th through 26th. So if anyone would like to join us for that, it's really fun. You get to practice tools that you could immediately start using with your clients that will initiate, enhance, expand, deepen your client stories. And we will be applying it, and you actually create your own story in that workshop to practice it along the way. So it's an intensive, immersive 2 days, but it goes quick for all those who've gone to it, right?
It goes really quick. It's amazing how engaging. I'm like, how is this going to go? But it's been really fun. Really fun.
If you've been through it before, you can get a 50% discount. So reach out if you don't have that coupon code. But for people who are new, it's still, we hope it's 35% off sale. And if you're an annual or an organizational member, it's another 20% off. Or if you need any assistance or support, just contact us. But hopefully it's very reasonably priced for the pretty intensive, what we get to learn in the 2 days. So those are the 2 exciting things coming up. Is there any other announcements or anything to add?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, Lynn Thomas. However, I just wondered if it was worth mentioning the other in-person trainings that are coming up in September and October.
Yeah, so we have the Seen Through Horses, some Seen Through Horses in-person training retreats coming up in Michigan with Ula and Fred's place. Woohoo! In September, end of September. Maybe one in Minnesota in September, right, Lynn?
Yes.
Potentially. Maybe that's a maybe still. And then with Amanda Graham at the end of October.
In North Carolina.
Weekend.
Yeah,
that's
October
right, North Carolina.
29th, 28th and 29th.
20th and 29th. So that is some other exciting events. And we have some other gatherings coming up. So we have the gathering in Australia in October. I was trying to see if we have any of our Australia folks on. And then Linda's on. And then we have our gathering in Mexico, and Annie, you're on. And that'll be November 24th through 26th, I think, but near the end of November. So that will be Spanish speaking. Anyway, and that kind of leads us into where we thought we'd, some ideas we thought we'd talk about today is just share. We just got back from our gathering in Minnesota. And we thought we'd start off with sharing about what the difference is between a training retreat and a gathering. Because they do have different intentions about what those experiences are for us and how we are learning together. So I don't know, Fred, I mean, did you want to share any initial thoughts, put you on the spot first, about the difference between the training retreat and the gathering?
Sure, I'll share my thoughts from our conversation and then probably hand it off to Lynn Moore, who did a great job explaining it to her team. And what I was moved by was seeing it in action and seeing us on the second gathering and a couple years old and watching experienced facilitators that have been doing this for decades, really taking in new ideas and seeing new applications and new sort of adjacent concepts that weave together well with the ARCH framework. And then we saw new people, new to facilitation in general, new to equine assisted facilitation, new to ARCH, and they had a lot to take away as well. And it really, one of the differences with the gathering was it that came to life was it was less sort of the basics and the fundamentals and instruction, but it was still very deep learning. But it was for everybody, and it was shared from different points of view, different places this has gone, people trying new things out. It really was a different sort of path. And I like that a lot. I think at the training retreats, they've grown nicely to where it's not starting at the beginning because the online component brings everybody in with a certain amount of familiarity, but we are getting to practice the skills, practice the fundamentals, really have deep learning around the keystones and practice facilitating. And this was more context exploration, continuous learning, sharing of ideas and hearing from different voices. And I think we knew that going in, that's what we were trying to do, but seeing it in action, it really felt like there's a growing distance, a good one, I should say a growing distinction between the two as ARCH grows up and as our community deepens their understanding. Lynn Moore, care to add on or share how you invited your team with your description?
Yeah, sure. I think how you explained it was beautiful. I was just, as I was listening to it, I was thinking the gathering is a, for me anyway, in our team, it's more of it's personal and professional growth. Like we go from, we personally experience everything, and then we think about, we learn and grow ourselves. And how then it's from our team's perspective, we were like, oh, how can I incorporate this in for my clients or maybe at Acres? And then from the retreat side of it, I feel like it comes from the professional side first. Like I'm looking at integrating, getting the skill set for my professional life, or bringing it to my clients for Acres. And then there's also the personal component that comes with it. So that's the only other thing. I was just, as I was listening to you explain it, where the gathering is a coming together, all of us sharing, we're learning in different ways, broadening our awareness of how this framework's being incorporated in all different aspects and by all different styles. And we experience it all personally. We're like, okay.
Yeah, it's a really great point. There's time to engage for the self first and let the learning how to apply kind of come as a second wave.
Yeah. And I hadn't thought of it like that until you were sharing those two pieces. And so that's all I have to add.
It's a great point.
Thank you. Anything else to add? So yeah, because I'm excited because we are getting clear about what are the intentions, and there really are very different experiences going into a gathering and going to a training retreat. And so we thought we would just kind of go through what we did at the gathering and then kind of have discussion around it and share some of the learning highlights and experiences. So if anyone wants to speak up as we kind of go through the agenda and share some of their thoughts along the way, as well as any applications of that learning being applied since leaving the gathering. So I thought I'd start off with just sharing my screen. We decided that at this one we would, when you log in as members, you can go to the groups area. And we kind of had just like this general training retreat participants group. But I think what we're going to start doing is making private personal groups for each training retreat and each gathering. So we have one for the 2023 gathering. So if you didn't go to it, you won't see this group. But I just wanted to share that's what we thought might be more helpful for people as you connect with one another at these experiences, that you can kind of go in there and you can connect and remember who all went and was there with you. And it's a way for us to, so you can make, like the Facebook feed kind of thing. And here you can make comments, share things, and share videos and photos. So I just wanted to share that, that we thought, and we probably will take the time and go back to some of our previous training retreats and gatherings and kind of go ahead and create these personal groups. So you can go in there and share photos this way and stuff like that. So I'm going to just start off with, whoops. Okay, I'm not going to start off with this right now because I know some of this got to come up. What I thought I'd start off with, so with this one, because of what was going to be presented and shared by some of the members, it involved potentially having the opportunity to not only take notes, but maybe draw or sketch or whatever things. So we provided a blank page little book, storybook this time. Of course, plenty of stickers since I like stickers. And so that's what we provided. And then because we all were going to be going off and doing different things potentially with that, we provided everybody got their own little, thank you. Yes, Amanda, our own little bag, waterproof bag that could hold the book. It could hold some colored pencils. It could hold these cute little scissors, and it had pens, pencils. You could put washi tape in there and pencil sharpener. So we got to revisit our school days, but it was actually a lot of fun and very handy, right, to carry that around. And I showed this too, because these are all ideas, right, you might use with clients and groups and stuff like that. So we had that, and we started off with our welcome and our introduction. And Ula, do you want to share? Because I think that was you, Ula, who got us started with the intention. And do you want to share anything about that? And
I seem to have trouble with my mute button today. Yeah, so we were kind of talking about how do we want to start and how do we want to close. Those two are always like bookends that can be sort of meh, or they can be more meaningful if we put a little thought and care into it. And I took a class over the winter in group facilitation, and one of the things they spoke of in that class was to do intention setting together out loud, whether you're just two people or a group of people, because it kind of starts the process, and verbalizing it out loud can help us focus our intention on what are we here to do today, what are we hoping to get out of it. And so we went around the room, and everybody kind of shared their intention for our time together, and that did feel more meaningful than just introductions.
yeah, I really thought that was powerful, because I think that word intention is a powerful word. And it was almost like when we invite clients for a working title, I found that the intention I had set out loud, right, actually ended up being kind of like the main theme of my personal story that unfolded throughout the whole gathering. So it was kind of worked almost like a title concept too. Anyway, yeah, are there any other thoughts about setting intention and as a way to start off or welcome or introduce with clients or with each other?
Jenny and I have started doing it with individual clients and groups. And at this point, I feel like we're aware of it when we forget to do it. And it feels like something is missing. Anybody else have any thoughts on intention setting?
I know for me, I was like, sorry, Amanda, I'll let you go next. But for me, it was helpful because I thought about it during the 3 days. I would find myself all of a sudden that intention then popped into my head, and I would then assess and evaluate, like, in order to keep going towards my intention, is there anything that I want to shift up what I'm doing and how I'm showing up to reach that intention? So it was helpful, I thought.
Nice. So
Yeah,
it sounds like it was a grounding point for you. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I would agree. I think for me, there were moments where I checked back in with myself. Being an introvert, there are times when I feel like I need space in a larger group. And my intention was to really deeply connect with each of the people there as best I could during the time frame. And so it was a nice balance for me to think about, where am I with this intention? Is this a time for me to reach out and connect with people? Or is this a time for me to just kind of pull back a little bit and restore so that then I can go back out? But I think being aware of my intention and saying it out loud also let others know, not that they were remembering my intention, but that there was a, it kind of put it out into the universe in a way that I think that was helpful.
Lisa?
It's interesting that with our residential groups, we've been having that as part of our check-in for several months, and it's really been a nice shift having the clients do, state something like that and see where it goes from there. And then at the end of the session, kind of even checking in with them if their intention was met or if it shifted or changed, or, different ways of questioning about that. But
Thank you.
It does make that, I don't know, it was a nice shift doing that.
Thank you.
Nice.
Sharon? Yeah.
Sharon?
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes.
Okay.
You do seem
I was thinking, as I've been listening to everybody, that stating an intention up front almost brings one sort of to take your responsibility for yourself in the group or in the process. Like by actually, it's almost like setting a goal, and then holding yourself accountable or taking responsibility for that goal and for whatever it is that you do through the time that it stays on track. I think it's a fascinating approach, and I'm going to integrate it into some of the work that I'm doing. So thank you for that.
Your audio is a little challenging. Was I the only one that had a hard time hearing Sharon?
No, you're just sounding a little distant, Sharon, but yeah, I heard about talking about the accountability or responsibility, and yeah, when you voice things out loud, what that does, how as a person, it feels different when you voice things out loud, just as when you write things, right? So
I think it has. So I feel like I've learned this lesson deeply with the horses, but it works for any group. I think visualizing, positive visualization, intention setting now grounds you within it, which also makes it easier to see, feel, receive support for others. So, I think horses demonstrate this in a lot of ways. So of course, if you're working with horses, this is helpful. Even if you're not, that idea of letting the rest of the stuff, all the stuff bouncing around in your head, kind of settle and focus. And I think it's good for the self and it's good for the group. So I think it's a really nice addition, whether it's said aloud or even just provided as a focus period, or I think with emotional safety in mind, reminding people they can share as little or as much as they care to, but the process of grounding is valuable either way.
Yeah, the choice part is always good.
All right, thank you guys.
Michelle?
So,
Michelle, did you want to speak
Michelle, go
up?
ahead, Michelle, thanks.
Hi, everyone. Michelle, I had a wonderful time from Minnesota. It was great to be there. I'm really thrilled that because I'm a couple minutes late to hop on and hear you guys talking about intentions, because I definitely made an intention while I was there, but I struggle with that. I struggle actually achieving those intentions when, even though I might have taken a few minutes to stop and think about, what is my goal here? Where do I really want to go with this? But to actually achieve that, I can get distracted very easily. So I think that it's great that we're talking about this, because bringing the awareness to that, and the fact that it can be a little bit more challenging for some than for others, is just a great reminder for me that I can see that many people practice this, and as you practice it more, you get better at it. And all of my intentions, I feel very fortunate that all of my intentions that I had set going there were absolutely met without me even trying to force it to happen. It just really naturally did happen. All of my goals were met, and it might have been because we stopped at the beginning and set those intentions, so my body and mind naturally gravitated towards having the open-mindedness in receiving the information that I was looking for.
That's great.
So thanks for bringing that up today.
Yeah. That's great awareness.
All right, thanks for sharing, you guys. And then after that, we moved in. So here's the pictures that have been uploaded to our gathering group for those who attended the gathering. There's some really nice pictures. And then if you attended, again, feel free, you can upload some. But then we went into our experiential introductory activity where we made some bowls, and there was a whole symbolism to that. But Ula, do you want to share? This was Ula's idea, and it was the first time to do it in a group like this, so it was an experimentation too. But is there any thoughts you'd like to share to start us off with this, Ula?
I just, yeah, it was kind of a lot to do with that many people. I've only done it in a group of 4 or 5, maybe. But what we thought about as a theme for the for the retreat was creating a safe container, right? So what if we externalized that story and actually created a container, a bowl, and it could be any size, it could be any color. I brought a bunch of fabric pieces, and there were some magazines, and then what the activity was is that we blew up a balloon, and people could choose what size to make their balloon, and then you glued on an inside layer and an outside layer, and used a bunch of glue, and then they needed to dry overnight. And that's where we learned some things about balloons. Some of the balloons deflated overnight, I think because of the humidity. So that became part of the story, right? The balloon became a character in the creating a container story. But some of the balloons survived, and so everybody had this very unique container that we actually took along with us on a mindfulness walk or an awe walk. And I think what it also serves to, when you're starting a retreat or doing a workshop, doing some kind of art, therapeutic art, or some kind of art activity really helps settle the nervous system. I was paying attention to the volume in the room, and it was very loud. There was a lot of conversation going on, and about 20 minutes in, whoosh, there was like this other energy that entered the room, or the volume lowered, And it was like, oh, okay, now everybody's arriving, right? Like it felt like the nervous systems had settled and now we were present and grounded because we were doing a hands-on activity. I was sitting right next to Lynn when I felt that shift, and I asked you, hey, did you hear? There was just a shift in the volume, and oh, there's the bowl. Michelle has hers. That's awesome. Hi. Oh, there's two. Yes, because her husband was there as well. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing those. So I think that was a good start to the whole weekend because it allowed everybody to settle.
I was going to say, I loved when things don't go. I mean, I don't always love in the moment when things don't go as planned. There's that initial like, oh no, we want to apologize. And the story, like the plot twist of the balloons all kind of starting to shrink or pop. So you have to use the glue and glue all these things on the balloon and use a lot of glue. So the amount of glue was a big part of it. And then these balloons didn't stay pumped. And so the bowls they didn't look the same. They started getting all crunched up and wrinkled and, you know, and it was like, oh no. And so the story of the balloon and what that did. And I think I really like, so the next morning on day 2, we had it planned to do the popping of the balloon ceremony. Well, some of us had tried fixing the balloons the day before and redoing balloons. And then the next morning, but then a lot of the balloons had already popped. So it wasn't a popping of the balloon ceremony, but it was a wonderful experience and learning. I loved how you shared, Ula, about as a facilitator, when we think we need to apologize. And do you remember what you said about that? Because it was really profound. I thought is that sometimes when we think the things aren't going the way we think they're supposed to go, and then we want to apologize. And you said something really profound.
I'm sure I did.
I'm hoping you'll remember because it was really good how you said it, but we can.
Well, I remember walking in that next morning and seeing some of the deflated balloons, and I got deflated, right? As the facilitator of this activity, I thought, oh no, it didn't work, or like, oh, I feel bad for people's balloons and blah, blah, blah. And then that was me, the person, Ula, walking in and seeing that. And then I kind of quickly got myself into facilitator mindset, which is what Scene Keystones are all about, right? That was my SOS. And in that SOS moment, my inclination would be to apologize to the group. Wow, I'm sorry that didn't work out the way it was meant to. But then I realized that that's not important, that I apologize. That's not what is what the story is. Like, I think you were the one that said, wow, the balloon has become an interesting character, right? That was Lynn's input on that. And of course, that's the better place to go as a facilitator, because as soon as I start apologizing, it becomes about me, right? And that's not what's important there. So I was glad I was able to notice my sense of self and shift into facilitator mindset and stay in the story and just listen to what was it like for other people to walk in and see their balloon deflated, or how did that affect everybody? That's more interesting, right? And that makes it about the group and the participants and their story.
I love with our values with creative continuous learning, it talks about that we end up going in ways we don't anticipate. We don't really, the outcomes are unknown. And so I loved how things happen because of our environment. Things happen that took our stories in directions we didn't expect.
Yeah.
So.
And it all worked out, like it was still, we still created containers. Yeah. Inger
and
metaphor. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great, Inger. Thank you.
Deflated, pop, bubble. Yeah.
So, and I'll just kind of share. So on the morning of day 2, we did have, gathered around the balloons and the popping. So there was still, work to do to kind of complete the containers. And then just to finish up the balloon experience, we then decided to do an awe walk, AWE. Amanda, do you want to share about kind of the thoughts of an awe walk? And we took the bowls out into the nature space, but do you want to share how you framed the awe walk? Oops, you're on mute.
There we go. Yeah, and it's interesting because when I said awe walk, being from the South, I'm not sure I was really clear. And so it was not until I was a little ways in that someone said, "What is that?" And I said, awe, AWE. And she's like, "Oh, awe," or something. So with that moment, I think she's a Minnesotan. But in any event, we finally got to what we were talking about. And the idea of an awe walk, which many of you may have participated in or read about or experienced, is the notion that when we are in awe, when we have the experience of awe, that we open and that we are able to connect with things more deeply in ourselves, that there's a sense of wonder, all of the feelings that we oftentimes have as kids when we don't have as many filters, but they get filtered over as adults. And so this is an opportunity to sort of pull back the curtains and allow ourselves to just be fully present. And I think what I suggested was that people go out into the space and out, take a walk. We were going to take about 20 minutes, I think, to do it, and take the bowl and just allow yourself to see things as if you've never seen them before. So to take a beginner's mind, that is taking a fresh look at something that you've probably seen 100 times, but just trying to allow yourself to experience it in a way that is fresh. And the bowl was a way of, if there were any things that you noted that you really resonated with you that you wanted to bring back, to put them in the bowl and bring back. And then we would check in about that or not. So that was how we set it up.
Thank you. So that was a fun and neat experience to go through that. Any other thoughts about the bowl and the balloon and the awe walk from anybody else?
Well, I had a thought going back to the sort of tying the beginning and the end, is that I don't remember if this got shared just now, but started with a discussion of perfection is not psychologically safe. And so the premise of the art started with the idea that we're not trying to make perfect bowls, we're engaging in a process that can help a story unfold and represent things and all that stuff. And so then I think the part about putting a facilitator hat on before, once you realize there's some events that have transpired, I think coming in with curiosity and lightheartedness sets the whole stage to tie together that opening about perfection, instead of, oh, look, it didn't work. If which is human, but if the facilitator comes in and sets the tone that this is a disappointment, then the stories will have to go over that speed bump. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a really great process, not only what we took away from our bowls and how we experienced it, but really to see facilitation modeled in a way that helped let it live in the imperfect and be about the stories instead of art class. And it was, I think that perfection is not psychologically safe premise connected directly to coming in and being curious about how things had transformed rather than being sad about balloons popping.
Thanks. Thank you, Fred. Yeah, that was a powerful quote. Thanks for reminding of that. Yeah. And Lynn shared a neat story with her client. So if you guys in the chat, so definitely check that out. And Eleanor is asking about what the bowl added to the awe walk. And I think for me, not only was it that kind of nice flow, we didn't just like stop with it. We still were able to connect with that story of the bull, and it almost like physically, we took that story that was happening with the bull into the nature space where we could walk around. So I think one, it was that flow and continuation of story for me, but also it gave a little container. If you wanted to pick up some things like a little flower or a little something, you had something to put it in. And I don't know, for me, it felt like, as a client, you could say a participant, it felt special. It made it more special, kind of, I think, having that continuation. So, and something physical like that. So I don't know if
I
anyone has
think
any other
also
thoughts.
the bowl was done, we made it with intention, you know, it was done, we added certain colors and certain spots and what we wanted on the inside of the bowl, what we wanted on the outside. So carrying that with us as we went on the all walk, at least for me, felt like it was a continuation of myself, that I was letting you know, like deciding what I wanted more of and what I wanted less of. So
Mhm. Yeah. Does that help, Eleanor?
Yes, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll just share real quick too, because as I was walking out in nature and being in awe, I was in awe of the sounds of the birds. And I was like, well, I can't really put that in my bowl. And then I looked in my bowl and I had used magazine clippings that form the inside of my bowl. And at the very bottom, well, I don't know if I can hold it up here. Anyway, it's kind of a creepy looking eye, but it's a bird. That is a bird that just happened. And I thought it was actually kind of fun using the magazine clippings for the inside like that, because when I popped the balloon, I didn't realize what was actually going to show. It was kind of a surprise, but I thought that was funny. At the very base is this bird's eye. So I did have the bird in my bowl. So
Awesome.
just to go back to day one, then we had a wonderful sharing and presentation from Dina Fessler. She has done 2 of our community calls on Arch in Afghanistan. So the first thing, and she shared some about that program, but then we actually experienced some of what she's doing. And so the first thing is she gave us all these incredible, and the diary PDF is in, I think, in part 1 of the community call Arch in Afghanistan. But she actually just gave us all this incredible diary. In fact, everybody wanted to get more copies to give to their clients or their family members. So I think she can probably make some more available. And I'll put that in the recording here, how to connect with her. So we actually participated in doing experience in that. And then she also had this handout, and we did another experience, a therapeutic writing and nature activity. And so we'll share that in the recording as well. And so that was a part of that, involved the sketching and going out in nature, and it kind of spending and being time in nature, and then doing a kind of a miniature writer's room. And there was some learning that she's had using it with her type of clients, that we probably need to break it down in much smaller steps. So that's something we hope to have some more conversation on and brainstorming on at a future time. But that took us through all of day one.
Yeah.
I think then I'll just move into day 2, since after the awe walk with the bowl, we went into a presentation with Fred and Ula on trauma informed. You guys want to share anything about that?
Well, I'm aware that I am so excited to tell the story about the heart, and we're going to run out of time. But
I was feeling that too, Ula. So we can
I can adjust
I want
my.
to talk about hero's journey. There's so much to talk about.
And I feel like the trauma-informed lens that that Fred and I have been sharing with people we'll probably have a whole community call on that when the course is up. So we're going to have a little preview of the course that we're offering on the platform. So maybe we'll just talk about it on the next call. Not the next one, but the call where we decide to do that.
Yeah. So let's do that, because we are going to be putting up a mini course on our platform that for you guys as members to access. And I know a lot of what you shared in that. And then we actually did an experiential where in small groups, we went out and experienced the different principles of trauma informed. So
it was pretty awesome. Is that okay with you, Fred, to just kind of skim over it?
Yeah, and I think just finishing that quick summary is, we see trauma-informed care and what we call trauma-informed lens, which is applying those principles of care to any sort of group relationship and certainly facilitation. We see it as a really essential sort of supporting skill for all types of, for anybody really, but especially people that are facilitating groups and or having client sessions, whether you be mental health or coach or teacher or whatever. And so that's what we covered. And then we explored it with the horses and came back. It really felt profound in a lot of ways, and a great example of showing how the gathering can bring ideas forward for people of any experience level. There was a lot of people digging in. So we'll love to cover that more. It's something we're really passionate about and are grateful for our partner Jenny, who's helped develop this. So we've been doing it for a couple of years and we'll continue to share.
Yeah, thanks you guys. And then after lunch, we did the hero's journey with Amanda, which built nicely on our book club call that we had, our last community call. And if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to that, it was a really wonderful call with the author joining us. And so, Amanda, I do have some of your, I don't know if you had that too, but I do have your handouts. But do you want to share anything that's highlights from what we got experience with the hero?
Yeah, thank you. Like Ula, I realize we are short on time here, so I'll do the Cliff Notes version. But there were 3 flip charts that we're going to show. This is the first one, but backing up even further, as Lynn said, I was really inspired from the moment I saw the book and started reading Everyone Has a Story by Andy, whose name escapes me at this last minute, is the author. And the author in her current iteration, her name is Drea Bloom, and she was with us on the call, and she was fabulous. But she wrote this fabulous book and about Joseph Campbell, who has been one of my heroes, and talking about the hero's journey in narrative therapy. So that set me on fire. And what I did while I was on the plane getting to Minnesota, and then for a couple of days scribbling while I was there, is came up with a vision of the hero's journey going through the arch. And quite simply, what Joseph Campbell did was explored many different cultures and realized the power of story through the thousands and thousands of ages. My dog is scratching here on the bed. And broke it down into several stages that as our lives go forward, we have several stages that we go through and we come up against difficult situations. So the one we're looking at now is the scribbling that I did for putting up the hero's journey as it goes through the arch. So as you look at the bottom left, the hero, meaning any of us, is doing their ordinary life. And from someplace they get a calling, and maybe that calling is from the internal, a desire for something, or maybe it's an external calling. And from there, we're at the threshold of choosing whether or not we're going to go into the arch and take the calling, or whether we're going to ignore it and stay where we are. But once we go through the threshold, we begin to find mentors and guides who come to us. Sometimes that guide may be internal or external. We go through many, many challenges. And then we come to what Joseph Campbell called the great abyss, which is the ordeal, the biggest, most difficult, threatening, challenging, lonely, painful event, part of the evolution of this story. And we struggle with that. And there again, we have a choice of whether we choose to go forward on our journey or to go back, but it's a choice. If we choose to go forward, we begin to come out of the great abyss and the ordeal and move into what is called transformation and revelation. And for me, in our arch perspective, I think that also speaks to the transformation of going through the arch. And as we come through there, you'll see acceptance of the new changes, of the new parts of ourselves that have been through that journey is a big part of it. We must accept that we've made these changes. And finally, we return to our communities, our homes, our people, our families, and we bring the gift of what we have learned back to those communities. So that is a very high level overview, and I will pause there and see if anyone wants to comment or add to what I've just said.
Yeah, I
Well,
really enjoyed this, the hero's journey, and I've been definitely applying it in a lot of, like, seeing different ways to apply it and stuff. So go ahead, Ula.
Is this a good time for me to just share the story of how this inspired me?
Yes.
Because that is what I love about the gatherings, and pretty much any time I spend time with any of you, I come back feeling like I have new inspiration and new ways to approach, and whether it's like, you know, the horse cards, or like, I always feel enriched. And when I think we came home Tuesday, and then Wednesday I had an hour-long session with a person I'd never met before, and we were going to do a Thrive Story retreat the following Friday. The Thrive Story retreat is 2.5 hours with meditation, art expression, horses, and looking at externalizing what we need to thrive, what the person needs to thrive. And it's become my absolute favorite thing that we offer, and we do quite a few of them. When I can, and it's sometimes on Zoom because people come from out of town to do these, but this person was already here, so I had it in person. And when I was listening to her tell her story, we have it like I have a pre-meeting to just get all the words out, right, to get the story out. Because in the Thrive Story retreat, we tend to go deeper and there's less words. And as I was listening to her talk, I had this hero's journey drawing that you did, Amanda, on the flip chart in the back of my mind, and I just kept hearing all the different stages of the hero's journey, but it was about her heart, not her. And in which, of course, you know, in everyday life, you wouldn't separate a person's heart, but she came with a goal. She said, I need to crack the wall around my heart. My heart has become hard and dark, and I want it to become light and shiny again. So she presented that main character, like her heart is the hero. And as I was listening to her story, I could see what her heart had been through. And a few, I don't remember how many years ago, but maybe 10 years ago, she had a heart, I forget, it was like a pulmonary something, but it was a heart issue, and she almost died. So that's, if you externalize the heart, right? That's the abyss for the hero. And when I was listening to her tell me her story, I just kept thinking about that because Amanda had just presented about it. And she had also told me that she had written something. She had written a play, and so it sounded like she was a writer. So I said, I wonder what it would be like to write a story before Friday when we meet about the heart, like create the character of your heart and tell your heart story. So that's externalizing that heart that's behind this hard wall that she wants to crack. And it was inspired by this hero's journey. And she was very excited about that. And she wrote a 3-page story that she brought Friday and read to us. And then she did this drawing, if you can pull that up for me, Lynn. So when she came back for the 2.5-hour Thrive Story retreat, Jenny starts off with a guided meditation, and then we kind of guide the participant into the art. And this is what she drew, which you can see the kind of the cinder blocks or bricks of a hard wall around the heart. And in this particular part of the story, the heart has arms and it's pushing itself out from behind the wall. And there's light coming out of the top. And the purple is these are all her words that she described it. The purple is the crack in the wall and there's light coming out of the crack. And I love externalizing story in artwork because when she looked at that, she said, wow, my heart is like 2/3 out from behind the wall. Before I came to Michigan, it was all the way below the wall. So this already kind of shows the progress. And it was herself who was able to see the progress because of the drawing she made. So I just love that. And the whole externalizing in writing a hero's journey story about her heart really helped her gain insight into how the abyss part of the heart's journey was when she started creating the wall around her heart to protect it. So I just love that. And this particular woman, she was only here for a week and in the area. And I got report back that she already feels lighter and that she's continuing to push her heart out from behind that wall. So the externalizing story in using the hero's journey format, it helped me thinking about it as I was listening, and then just putting it out there as sounds like your heart has been through a long journey and that it's actually the hero in the story. She could relate to that and write the story. So I appreciate that presentation, Amanda, very much.
Sure. Thank you. And it was inspired by Everyone Has a Journey. So if you haven't read it, it's a short read. And I'm planning on putting together a graphic that includes that drawing to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And also the prompt that I sent folks out to or invited them to go out into the space with. And I don't know if we have that one, Lynn, but we could certainly show that. And if not, that's okay too. We're almost out.
Yeah, I have it. I can bring it up as you're talking.
Okay.
Bye, Inger.
Bye.
Thanks. So yes, thank you. I'm glad the chimes and the birds weren't a distraction. It's a nice day here in Michigan. I'm outside.
There we go. So this was the prompt that was useful, I think. And Unbridled Self Journey is a program that I offer here at my farm, Unbridled Way Forward. It is an 8-week program of personal discovery. And this is going to be incorporated into that. So this was the question, where are you on the path? Think of a journey in your current world or life. Where are you on the path? And this just outlines a couple of the steps along the way. And then identify the location and go out into the space and explore what might move your story forward. So again, very simple, very trauma-informed, very open with choices. But I think, it was useful, and obviously it worked for you, Ula, with your client. So maybe it will work for some others. Feel free to use it.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might try it tonight, Amanda, with my, we're in our 5th week of our 6-week military group, veteran group.
Okay.
And I might use it tonight or as our final closing night. Not sure. So I'll let you know.
Okay. Great. Great.
All right. Yeah, I know we're running short on time, but just the next day we did have a third day, and we had a wonderful presentation from Kari on applying the scene keystones in equestrian riding lessons and what that looks like. So that was really neat. And then Fred and Ula gave another presentation on horse-human collaboration and leadership, and a program you guys do there. And again, I mean, it'd be great to maybe have a whole community call or mini course on that sometime, because it's a really neat program that you guys are doing. So anything you want to share about that though?
In short, we summarized what we created for that can be used with a lot of different populations and audiences. And then we shared what it was like to take it a couple of cohorts of middle school and high schoolers through that our school had selected for it. So we've done it with volunteers, we've done it with adults, but we recently did 2 rounds with middle and high schoolers. And so we talked about the blending of facilitation. So we're actually sharing, you know, it's a shift from kind of how we used to sort of compartmentalize education and training, and like, here's how we approach a horse, here's how we hold this. And we're using some of those skills in a very light way to illustrate what we can learn about working in partnership, working in collaboration with any other living being, human or equine or otherwise. And so there's lots of good takeaways, and that's what we presented, and tried to find the middle of how to educate, but do it for the purpose of unfolding stories and learning about ourselves.
It was all really powerful. Is there any other thoughts or highlights from anyone who was at the gathering that you guys would like to share about your experience or what you came away from it with?
I had a wonderful time, and there's not enough time for me to get into how much I got out of it and what I took away from it. But I really look forward to being able to go again.
Thank you, Michelle. It was super fun having you and Todd there. So thank you guys for coming.
I hope to see some of you at the one here in Massachusetts.
The
Coming
Scene
up
Through
in July.
Dogs.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Any
also,
other? Go ahead, Linda.
yeah, I just wanted to comment too that I was at the gathering, and it was just really a special time to be with everyone. And I just feel so much lighter now back home, and really had some nice takeaways that I can take back and doing in my practice and awareness. Real quick on the intention, what I found is, you know, after the retreat, when I was by myself, it gave me time to reflect on what did my words really mean, and why did I use those words, and how taking that forward each day to the retreat. So it was really cool.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, any other thoughts or anything? Our hours go by so fast.
Lynn,
you
can
have
we
something?
show, can you show the art, the collaborative
Okay.
art we did throughout the 3 days?
Right, how could I forget the collaborative art? Oh my gosh, we did also a collaborative art project, which of course Ula always helps us bring it all together, but it was again another powerful experience. Anything more to share on this or from any of you guys?
I'm just so grateful I get to hang it up here and look at it every day and be inspired by it. So I still have the one from our first gathering hanging up. So just amazing. Brings me right back to the 3 days together.
That's just gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It was so neat. I can't remember who added these 4-leaf clovers, and
Dina.
then
Mhm.
Dina, and then I mean everybody like added such interesting and neat things, but then we added that there was glitter because we had this whole story during that. It was a gathering story, a group story, with the glitter bomb. Does anyone want to share about that real quick?
I think it was a story that Dina shared just about how like just being inspired, and that she saw it as it was this inspiration bomb or bubble that blew up, and then she had glitter everywhere and her mind was going with ideas. And at a previous time together. And then we had this little microphone guy down on the right-hand side by the tree. He kind of became a character in our story. And we were talking about just him exploding with glitter all
There's the
over.
little, this became a big character in our group story. He was all sorts of things for people.
I
Or
didn't
she, or
know
whatever.
Fuzzy made the art. He's going to be so proud.
Oh, yeah. Heather added him. Mhm.
Yeah, so a lot of fun individual stories, group stories, and again, all the gatherings. I'm so fortunate I've gotten to go to all of them except for the one in Latin America last year. Have just been really special. So thank you guys for your support. And I know many of you would like to come and can't come always, but hopefully this gives you a little taste of what we got to experience and some of the tools we got to share with one another. I was trying to get to our group picture, but it seems to have frozen. There we go. Where's our group picture? But anyway, we appreciate this. Here we go. Group picture. Opportunity to spend this time with one another when we can. And we're so grateful we get to spend this time together online too, and have this way of connecting and sharing and supporting one another. So thank you guys for everything. We look forward to the next call will be, I think it's July 5th. The first Wednesday of July. We potentially have a guest speaker, but it's not confirmed, so I won't say what we're doing. It, as you say, plans change, right? And I don't want to have to say I'm sorry because I'm not going to. But anyway, anything else to add, you guys, as we wrap up for today? All right. Thank you, everyone. Hugs, and feel free to reach out with any questions, thoughts, or experiences you're having, would like to share in our community call. For those of you who have the ARCH designation, we're actually doing an ARCH designation call tomorrow, virtual session practice. So we have those going on too. If you have the designation, or if you don't have it yet and want to look into it, just it's in the courses area, or feel free to reach out with any questions. But we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.